Okay, so go out to Moodle, grab that picture because we're going to be using it within our animation today. It's the Seattle kind of skyline picture.
I think you just sent me a recommendation.
Okay, cool.
Sorry.
No. If you right mouse click it and go to save as, Raiden, you can save it. It's a cool thing about pictures and anything is that you can right mouse click and save as. It's kind of a cool thing. How many classes have you had with me, Raiden? All right, once you grab that picture and save it, and you can just save it to your W drive or the desktop, it doesn't matter which one. We're just going to be using it as a background image today within our animation. So once you have that picture and you've downloaded it and saved it to either your W drive or the desktop's fine as well, I need you to go ahead and open up After Effects. It is in the menu that you find Adobe Premiere Pro. So that means it's in the Adobe Master Collection folder. That's where you find it. So you're going to be looking in the same place as Adobe Premiere Pro. Make sure you just open up the Adobe After Effects. Some computers might have Adobe After Effects Render. We don't want that. We just want the plain Adobe After Effects. So I'll give you a couple of seconds to open all of that up.
Whoa. I can't. Tip of the day.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm doing the same thing. Oh, never mind. But I. Another.
Okay, once you open up Adobe After Effects, one of your options in the very beginning or start screen is to create a new composition. So let's click on New Composition.
It's under composition versus new composition. Wow.
And another little box might pop open and you're just going to click OK. And so then you should be to the point where my screen is. If you get a little message box, just click OK. And then you'll click New Composition, and then OK. And that should get you to where I am up here on the screen. Okay, so let's talk about your screen and what you're looking at. Obviously, in the middle is our composition area. So this is where we're going to put anything that we want within our animation. Okay, now when we finish with our animation, we can render it and export it so that it's a file that Adobe Premiere Pro will let us import and then put in our timeline. Okay, so anytime that you're working on a project, you need to kind of plan ahead what you want your After Effects animation part to be. Okay, it might include a picture. It might include a picture that has animated text. Okay, so these are types of items that you kind of need to plan ahead about what it is that you want as your animated sequence, and where you want it to go within your timeline. Okay, because as we start building the project, okay, we're going to be able to control how long it lasts. Okay, so, you know, if you know you want an animation that has a picture and animated text that comes in at different times, with different paths that the text follow, you kind of need to have in your mind how long you want it to last, because a lot of the projects, right, I have a time limit on. So you need to make sure that whatever it is that you're creating fits within the spectrum of the project as far as the timing. Okay, so all things that should be kind of thought about and planned out before you start in After Effects. Okay, so we have our main composition area here where we have the black screen. This is where I call the workspace area. This is where we're going to build our animation, okay, within here. Okay, whether it is pictures, text, both, we're all going to be able to see that visually in the screen. On the very left-hand side of the screen, as we start adding different elements like pictures, text, to our project, we're going to see those listed here in the section that I'm circling. Okay, so as we start building the project, we'll see all of those elements over here. At the bottom, kind of looks like a timeline a little bit. You guys should notice that this is going to do our sequence in seconds, and you can see how the seconds are marked on the timeline. Different animations take different amounts of time. I'll show you an animation folder that has some presets in it. Some of them already have a timed out sequence. Okay, you can go in and change those, but I just want you to be aware that some of them already come with timings that are basically presets. Over on the right-hand side of our screen, this is basically all of the things that we can do to our project. Okay, there's a tab here that says Effects and Presets. So these are all folders that we can open up and add to. Now, a little disclaimer, we're going to spend 2 days in After Effects. You could spend an entire course in After Effects. So we're just going to touch the surface of what you can do within After Effects. But I always encourage you, if there's something that you kind of have in mind, you can probably go to YouTube and find a tutorial on how to do something specific. Okay, so if you've got something in mind that you want to do, but obviously in 2 days I can't cover everything that you could possibly do with After Effects, please feel free to go out to YouTube, take a look at some of those tutorials to create whatever type of project that you want to create. On the announcements, do you guys ever notice at the end that graphic that happens, the animation that says Golden Bear Television, that kind of spins and looks like a globe and makes all that? Okay, that was done in After Effects by a student that took 18 hours to build. And he was pretty good and efficient in After Effects. Okay? Ben Newtalk. Yeah, I know. Yeah, but he was kind of an After Effects guru. He loved After Effects. But just to give you an idea that, you know, some animations are very simple and very easy to build. Some animations take a lot more time and effort and energies. Not that I'm saying that I expect you to spend 18 hours on an animation. I just wanted to give you kind of an idea here, a glimpse into, you know, very basic what we're doing. That animation at the end of GBTV Every Day, obviously a little more in depth, since it was like an 18-hour edit to put all that together and get it to work correctly. Okay, so you can do very basic things and you can do some really far out crazy things with After Effects. Okay, but like with everything, you know, feel free to explore and play around with some of the tools that I'm going to show you to give you an idea of some of the things that you can actually do. Okay. The first thing that I want to do is to import in that picture that we just downloaded. So let's go up to File and let's go to Import, and it's obviously a file. So go ahead and import that in from wherever you saved that. All right, once we get the image imported in, you guys should notice over here on the left-hand side, we can see where that image, we can see a preview of it, and then we can see the actual name and the type of file and so forth. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is just click and drag where the name of the image is, and I want to drag it onto my workspace area. Obviously the picture is very small whenever I drag that on, so I'm just going to use the sizing handles. To size that up. Okay, a little pixelated.
Mine looks like somebody built it in Minecraft.
Yeah. That's because all the websites that had these pictures were blocked, so I basically had to save the thumbnail. When you guys do this, you can look for better quality pictures. I didn't want to spend 15 minutes looking for a picture. Okay, once we get the picture in our workspace area, what we should notice is down here where it's labeled Comp 1, which means Composition 1, it has now added that picture to the timeline sequence. Now, obviously, nothing's happening with the timeline because we haven't done anything to animate the picture. Okay, it's just sitting down there, and we know that it is on our workspace. Okay. All right. I'm going to do kind of work with some of these things like this is for a news station. So perhaps some of the graphics and animation that a news station would use. So at the bottom, I want to create some text that says news at 6. I'm going to show you how to add some layers to this to make it not look so flat on the picture. So I'm going to add a shape first so I can edit the shape, and then I'm going to add some text to that. Okay. So I'm going to go up to Layer on the menu bar, and I'm going to come down to New, and I'm adding a shape, so it's going to be a shape layer. Again, because I added something else to my workspace, I now have shape layer 1 down here in composition 1 where I'm circling. So at this point, I've got two things. I've got a shape layer and I have my picture. All right, so the shape layer is selected. What you guys should notice is that you have a toolbar running across the top of your screen here. And one of those tools is a rectangle tool. Actually, if you click on the little arrow in the corner, it's going to pull that down and you're going to have multiple shapes. We are choosing a rectangle. All right, once I choose the rectangle, notice I have a fill color, I have the stroke color, which is the outline, and then I even have 2 pixels for the width of the outline. I'm going to change the fill color. So mine starts out with red. I don't know if your guys' start out with red too, does it? Okay. All right. Those of you who've had web design, you've been familiar with hexadecimal colors, but it is the box at the bottom here that starts with a number sign. And the hexadecimal that we're going to use is 113355. It's a shade of blue. 113355. And then we're going to click OK. We really don't want an outline on this, so I'm going to change the 2 pixels to 0. Because instead of having kind of an outline on my shape, I'm actually going to add more of a bevel look to it. So it would look weird if I put an outline. So make sure you change that stroke value from 2 to 0.
Where's that at? Yeah, how'd you do that?
It's up here by the fill. Like if you go 2 down from the fill, there's something that says 2px. You change it to 0px.
Dude, you go right up to layer. Go to new. Where's the shape layer? See that there? That's the shape layer.
Okay, once we have that, we need to set up the bevel. So I'm going to go to the effects menu. Notice we have a lot of effects here. That's why I said there's a lot to play with and figure out and different types of things that you can do. Under perspective, one of the options is bevel edges. So I'm going to select bevel edges. Now, once I choose bevel edge, over here on the left-hand side of my screen that I'm circling right now, these are all of the effects that go along with the bevel edge. So if I want to change, the thickness, the color, anything along those lines, I have access to that here on the left side of my screen. Right now, the edge thickness is set to 0.10. I'm actually going to change that to 0.05. And then press enter so it accepts the value.
Zero point zero
0.05.
five.
And then the last kind of effect that I'm going to add to this shape, just to give it a little more dimension. Let's go back up to Effect on the menu bar. Let's come down to Stylize. And then we're going to choose Color Emboss. Okay, again, on that left-hand panel that I see, I can still see bevel edges and all that I can do with that. I can now also see color emboss. And we have a relief value at 1.00. We're going to change that relief value to 2.00 and then press enter. Okay, now we basically have all of the effects set up on our rectangle that we want to draw in. So now we're ready to draw that in. Make sure your arrow key is selected on your toolbar up at the top. Okay, make sure your shape layer is selected at the bottom. Sorry, that made me click off mine. So at the bottom under Comp 1, make sure shape layer is selected. Okay, we have our rectangle tool already selected, so when we place our mouse over the picture, our little cursor should change, and then I'm going to draw in my rectangle. Okay, that's because I said after you click the arrow, you need to come down to the bottom and click the shape layer 1, and then make sure the rectangle is selected at the top. Smarty pants. And then draw your rectangle. All right, anybody need help getting your rectangle on the picture? Your rectangle. Everything that we just went over in the last 8 minutes, you didn't add. All right, so we've got our shape on here. The next part of this is going to be adding text to the shape, okay? Because we're going to add some text, and then we're going to get to the point where we can tell it to animate the text as well. Okay, so let's go up to Window on our menu bar. And let's go to the very first option, which is Workspace. Since we're working in text, I want to change the workspace to text. So let's do that. Because once I change the workspace area to text, over on the right-hand side, I have all these great text tools. That's really the only reason why I changed the workspace area from standard to text, is so that I would have all of these tools over here on the right-hand side that are specific to text. Everybody see that? All right, you're probably going to have to click somewhere in the timeline portion of your screen. And once you click inside of there, just to select it, that's all you're doing. Because at this point, you're telling it you're working within the timeline. You're going to go up to Layer on the menu bar. You're going to come down to New. And since we're dealing with text, we're going to choose Text for our layer. Now, when you look at the bottom, where our Comp 1, which means Composition 1 section is located, I'm circling it right now. Okay, this whole section. Okay, we should see a new layer has been added that's called Text 1. All right. Now, when we hover our cursor over the blue rectangle that we made, okay, I can click inside of that. And I can start typing. Okay, if it types outside of it, it's okay, we can move it. Yeah, so if it happens to type outside of the blue rectangle, it's okay, we're gonna fix all that. We're gonna put news at 6 o'clock. You guys giving up? Because you're going to have to create an After Effects thing all by yourself.
Just be happy it's not flat.
We've got struggles, and we're beyond that. So probably not, Tim.
We're not allowed to struggle.
My timing here. Yes.
The sizing on the text is so like
Yeah.
sensitive.
Yes. Very. Okay. So, couple things. Once you got news at 6, if it's not inside of that blue box, okay, you can come up to your arrow tool on the toolbar, and you can click on the text that says news at 6, and you can move it wherever you need to move it to, okay, which would be the blue rectangle.
It only lets me move my picture. And then when I double click it,
Have your layer selected. Shape layer. I select the shape layer.
You didn't fill it. Okay, now first you actually.
Yes, very.
it's specific.
Okay. All right, a couple things. For those of you who've never worked in Photoshop or Flash, any type of software that deals with layers, okay? Here's the trick to layers and not accidentally moving the wrong thing around and all of that, okay? Now down here in the composition section that I'm circling right now, where I can see my news at 6, my shape layer 1, and my image. Okay, those are all individual layers. If I wanted to move just my shape layer, I would click on the shape layer down in the composition 1. With my arrow tool selected, I could then just move my rectangle. I could size it at this point. I can move it around, whatever I need to do. Now, if I need the text to move, I need to select the text layer in this composition area, which the text layer says news at 6. Notice whenever I select that, it selects the actual text. So then I can move the text. I can drag it out to make it larger, whatever I want to do. Okay? So the key to not moving the wrong thing around is making sure you have the layer selected that you want to work with. Okay? That's kind of the trick on not moving everything around. Make sure you have your layer selected first, then you can move wherever you need to move to. Okay? Makes sense? We good? All right. Over here on the right-hand side, here are all the things that we can do to this text. So we can change the font style, we can make it bold, italics, we can change the font size, we can change the color, whatever it is that we want to do to this. So I'm going to let you guys go ahead and pick a font style. And just depending on your font style, you can go ahead and pick a font size. It just needs to fit within that text box. And because different font styles tend to produce a different font size, okay, you guys just need to pick that. Okay, so I've picked the appropriate size for this to fit inside of the rectangle. Now I'm also going to make this text bold, so I've got a pull down list that says regular. My other option is bold. And then I'm going to have to adjust it. Now, here's a trick as well. Sometimes the mouse is way too sensitive when you're trying to move things around. Like right now I tried to move my news at 6 over a little bit and it went too far, too fast. So I switch from using my mouse to the arrow keys, because the arrow keys will make you, or will allow you to make small little movements instead of your mouse kind of getting crazy and you losing control of it. So if you need to make small movements or small adjustments like I just did, okay, that's easy to do with using the arrow keys. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and save what we've done so far because we don't want to lose it. So let's save it as, and make sure you save it to your W drive. I'm just going to call it Seattle News. So you two giving up? Eric, Kayla, you guys giving up?
Okay, I can do the new layer, so
Okay.
I just didn't know to do it.
Okay. All right. Well, it's because you have to focus and pay attention.
Every single day is web design.
And it's just too difficult when you're talking to pay attention.
And then everyone else missed it.
Yeah,
So
and that's how it goes in web design too. You miss the littlest thing, and boom, your whole entire thing is upside down, backwards. Yeah.
And then you have to call Mrs. Fox over, and she has to take it all out and fix it all right, Tim. And then she does it. And then I do it for you, and DJ's like, I just did all that. All right, everybody get that to save okay?
Yes, I did, Mrs. Fox.
Awesome.
I did
Someone
every single
is
step.
alive and paying attention.
I did every single step. Good job.
Okay.
Good job.
Now, let's add a drop shadow effect to our text. Okay, so let's make sure our news at 6 layer is selected. Now, over here on the right-hand side, I'm circling this, we have a panel that says Effects and Presets. Okay? I think it's under here.
Ours is really tiny.
Yeah, ours is like
You don't have effects and presets?
I can see it, but it's too small.
Will they grab
I
it?
can't.
Will they grab it?
No, you have to hit
You know what, Tim?
You're the one that came over here asking if I needed that.
This is why I was making fun of you. I didn't know if she was being sarcastic or not. God.
No, it's just too easy.
I think your phone is right.
I'm leaving it. I'm not answering it.
What if it's something important?
Then they'll call again.
That's something my dad would say. My dad's like, if you don't have a number, don't answer it. And if they don't leave a voicemail, we'll have the
Okay, did you guys get the effects? Did you guys get the effects and presets section? Did you notice in the effects and preset section Up at the top is like a little search bar. Okay, I'm going to type in drop shadow, so this will find it for me. So yeah, looks like drop shadow is under perspective. And then if I double click the drop shadow effect, it'll add that to my text. Any problems with the drop shadow?
No, adds it over to the side, but it doesn't have shadow.
It like
Double click that. I don't know a lot of stuff.
All right, any other problems with the drop shadow? All right, now what I want you guys to do is come down here to the composition area that I'm circling right now, where you can see the image layer, you can see the shape layer, and you can see the text layer. Beside each layer, there is a little arrow. So if I click that arrow, it'll open up that section and it'll tell me the different types of effects that I have added to that particular layer. So that if I decide that I don't like something, I don't have to start all over, okay? If I decide I don't like the drop shadow effect, okay, I can just select it down here in my effects section and press delete and get rid of it, okay? So don't ever think that, you know, you can't go back and undo something or that you have to start all over. Okay, everything that you've done as far as editing is in this section here that I am circling, okay, under your composition. Okay, so you can go in there and delete out anything that you don't like. Okay, the way it looks, the way it operates, whatever. Okay? Okay. Let's add some animation to our text. Okay, otherwise this is just kind of a plain Jane graphic. All right, so I need to make sure that my News at 6 layer is selected, first of all. And then let's go up to animation on the menu bar and let's go to Browse Presets. Now, it'll take it a couple seconds to open up. Now, this is the part that you guys are really going to like because there's so much animation to choose from that you don't have to do yourself, that it's all just preset stuff.
Is that for me? What are the different colors going to be?
I don't know. Just whatever paper Parsons has at the time when he makes all the passes.
For real?
For real.
Oh shoot, I thought they had a meeting.
That's what I like, 'cause, you know,
I feel like Parsons just gets stuck with all that stuff.
Yeah, just like I get stuck with all the anything, yeah,
Anything computers you get,
Yes.
and Parsons gets everything.
printing. He gets everything printing, I get everything
And
computer.
he made like a whole shop put ring for Mississippi
we do that.
Yeah.
40 years.
last
Never
year.
done.
Okay, so when this finally opens, what you guys should notice is that there are a bunch of different folders that has all kinds of different types of animation. There's one folder that is specific to just text. All of the other folders are things that you can do to shapes, that you can do to pictures. There's just tons of things that you have options for. When you open up the text folder, then there are, here's the, folder within a folder thing. Then there's even more Animations. And they try to put them by category as far as the type of animations that they are. So the 3D text is just what it says, okay? It's going to give you more of a 3D text look. If you want to animate something in, animate something out, if you want to make something blurry, excuse me, if you want to do paths, where text follows paths, okay? So you have all of this different stuff that you can choose from, okay? So pick a folder that interests you right off the bat here. And once you do, within that folder, here you go with a lot more options, okay? So if you click on any of the animations, if you'll give it a second, it'll show you a preview of that. So you don't necessarily have to apply it to your text and then see what it looks like. This gives you kind of a built-in preview so you can see the effect that it actually has and that it does. Sometimes I get lost just in there's too many options. Sometimes I think that they give you too many options in this, that sometimes it's difficult to choose. Okay, so I'm just going to give you a few minutes here to explore. So you can take a look at the different options that you have. And you can check out the previews.
Just let the random letter comes into JSON and add it yourself.
Okay, once you find something that you want to add to the text, go ahead and double click it to select it. It will then take you out of the animation preset section. And it will add that animation to your text. So I'm going to hit the space bar, and that's going to start my animation. You get it?
Wasn't happy. I don't know what.
I had to restart the whole thing when I got your boxes.
Now, Tim, that's not as bad as.
I'd rather do this.
Because
I'd
it
rather
really.
do neither of them,
It
but-
well, it really does a lot more of the work for you than
Yeah.
Flash ever would have thought of doing.
He's doing the animations. I took a visit to St. Mary's of the Woods this weekend.
Oh, you did? What do you
Yeah.
think?
And I was talking to the head of the business department or whatever, and
Mhm.
he was like 400 kids at the school. Like it's one of